Hello friends, this is our third video on the CSS. Last time we have started with the writing CSS properties. Then we have created two files. One is index.html to write your HTML code and another file is style.css for writing your CSS. To link your style.css file with the HTML file, we have used a link tag with the relation of style sheet and href style.css. And the class name was given as box1 for the division 1 with the content of 50 characters. Then inside the CSS file we have started that how to write the properties for a particular class. So dot box1 is our class name. So we have written few properties like background color yellow, width of 300 pixel and padding of 20 pixels. Then we have visited our folder where we have stored this file, that is CSS tutorial, and inside that folder I'll go back and to check our output on the index.html page I'll right click and open with the default browser which I have. So this is our output which we have seen last time, but now every time to check my output I need to go to visit this page and open this HTML page onto the browser. So there are alternatives available in the VS Code. So today I'll just start with that alternative. Just open your VS Code and at the left hand side you will find there is an icon of extensions. Search for the icon, search for one plugin, that is live server, and you will get the lots of option. Select the first one and you will see that I have already installed this live server extension, so I got an option of uninstall. So if you are installing it for the first time, you will get an option of install. Just click on it, your plugin will be installed. Once you install the plugin, what you need to do, you just need to visit your HTML page, right click on the HTML page, and there is an option called as open with live server. Just select that option and you can see you are getting an output. Now what is the difference between the previous way to check your output and this way? In the previous way you are getting a complete address of your file, the local address where you have stored the file. So on my desktop I have created one folder and then we have created the file where you are getting your output. But when you have opened the same page with the help of live server, so you are getting a local IP address of that folder and then the only file name. So both ways are fine for the static web page, so you can check any one of them. Now let us move forward with some new properties. So we'll write few new properties. So we can write the next property as margin colon 50 pixels. So the next property which we have written is my 50 pixels of margin. Now on the live server you can see that it is directly showing the difference, but in the previous output it is not showing that. So in the previous case you have to reload the page, but when you are opening your page with the live server, so it will automatically change. So now onwards we'll be using a live server to check your output. Now the property which we have written is a margin of 50%, 50 pixels from all the sides. Same as that of padding, you can write the margin from all the four sides. So you have just mentioned 50 pixels, so it will take the 50% of margin from all the sides. Now what is the difference between padding and margin? Padding is an internal gap. You can see it is inside the yellow box, but the margin is outside the box. It means that there is no another content within the radius of 50 pixels around this box. Suppose you want a margin from a particular side only, so you will write simply margin hyphen left, right, top, bottom. So I'll just demonstrate you with the margin left 50 pixels. Reload your page, automatically it will be reloaded. Now you can check at the left hand side you are getting a 50% of the margin, but not from the top, not from the bottom, and not from the right. So you can mention the type. Now let's say I want this box at the center of my screen. So what you will do? So you might be thinking of we can leave some margin from the left and some margin from the right, but exactly you don't know that what is the width of your device. So as we don't know the device width exactly, so what we can do, we can provide a margin auto from left and right. So let us try that. So here instead of writing a margin left a particular pixel, I'll write auto, means automatically it will take the margin of from the left hand side, and again I'll write margin right auto. So it will automatically calculate the equal margin from left and right, and you can check your output. Now your box is at the center location. Yes. Now suppose you want a gap from the top a little bit. So you will write a margin top of suppose 100 pixels. Just save and check your output. Now you are getting a margin from the top of 100 pixels. So left right is auto, margin from the top is 100 pixels. So the box is a little bit at the center location of vertically and from the left and right as well. Now we'll write some more properties. So for the better understanding, I'll keep this in the same window, and we'll open our browser to the side because we are not going to add HTML code anymore, so you can easily recognize the output. Fine. So either you can write individual properties or you can write margin colon auto. So see, automatically the page is reloaded because we are using the live server now. So it is at the center location from the left and right, but not from the top. So if you want a gap from the top a little bit, so the first property is always top bottom, and second one property is for the left and right. So the first suppose 100 pixels. Save. So 100 pixels from the top bottom, this 100 and this will be taking 100. Left right auto, so it is leaving a gap from the left and right equally, and the card is at the center horizontally. The next property which we'll discuss is border. So I want a border to this card. So you will write border colon. There are three values you can write in a single line, that is border colon the thickness of the border. Suppose I want a thickness of 5 pixels. Then the type of the border, so I'll write solid, and the color of the border. By default it is taking the black color you can see on the screen. So even if you want to mention, you can mention the color. Suppose I want a red. So the border on to the your card is red color with the thickness of 5 pixel, and the type of the border is solid. Now let us change the type. So instead of solid I can write dashed. So the output is showing the dashed or border. Instead of dash again you can write dotted, so that your border will be dotted. So generally most of the time we prefer the solid border. Now again, if you change the thickness, what will happen? Suppose I write 1 pixel, you can see there is a thin border to the card which we have created. Now sometimes we need the border of this card should be rounded. So the next property which you need to write is border colon and the radius thickness. For example, 50 pixel is my radius. So just change it to the 50 pixel. Sorry, border hyphen radius. You have to write border hyphen radius 50 pixels. Now you can see the corners of that box are rounded by the radius of 50 pixels. If you change it to the 10 pixel, then you can see the border radius is of 10 pixel. Now what if you provide it in a percentage? Suppose I have provided it in the percentage of 50%. Now what will happen? It will take the 50% of height and width. So the width which we have provided is 300 pixels. So obviously it will take the 150 from the width, and height is according to the text. So it is taking the oval shape, but the content is outside the your box. So instead of providing it in a pixel percentage, we provide it in a pixel. For example, 10 pixels. So it will get the rounded corners. Now the next property is box shadow. Generally we prefer to use. Now what is the box shadow? So I'll simply demonstrate you box hyphen shadow colon, and here again you need to provide a three values, and fourth one is as your color. So three values I'll directly mention 30 pixels, 30 pixels, 30 pixels, and name your color. So for example, by default it is taking the black color, so you can mention the black color for this example. Now you can see that there is a shadow to the box which you have created. So there is a shadow from the left to right and top to bottom. Means you are assuming that your light is from this side and the shadow is towards the right bottom corner. Now what are the meaning of these values? So it's a simple way to check what is the meaning of this value. Just make it 0 and check your output. Now once you make it 0, there is a no shadow towards right. The shadow is only to the bottom. So it means that the first value is indicating the shadow towards right. If you mention 50 pixels, you can check it is towards the right hand side. If you mention the minus 50, it will be towards the left hand side. Okay. Now next let us make next value as 0. So you can see that there is a no shadow towards bottom. So this second value is indicating shadow towards the y-axis, that is towards bottom. So suppose I have added a 50 pixels, so your shadow will be at the bottom, and if I change it to the minus 50, your shadow will be at the top. So we'll keep it as 30 pixels. Now what is the last value, third value? So it indicates the shadow spread, how much it will spread. Suppose make it 0. Now you can see that the shadow is completely a dark shadow, and if you write the value like 30 pixels, so it is spreading across up to 30 pixels. Suppose you mention it to the 50 pixels and check your output. Now the shadow is little bit more spreaded up to the 50 pixels. Now again, sometimes you can use the fourth value, but it will create a darker shadow, but we generally we don't want this, so I always avoid that. So we can use 30 pixels, the around 10 to 20 pixels as per your requirement. But sometimes you need a shadow from all the sides for the box. So how can you do that? So it's very simple. You don't want towards left and right, so make it 0 pixel. Again, you don't want it the top and bottom, make it 0 pixel. And you want to spread your shadow from all the sides, so mention some value, let us say I'll use 50 pixels. Now you can see that the card having a shadow to all the four sides. So depending on your design, you can choose the shadow and you can apply the shadow to the boxes. So I hope that all of you are getting an idea that how to use the box shadow, border radius and margin property for creating a beautiful card. So practice this much. We'll see you in next video.